Yo, what's going on, guys? Your boy CV with another reaction video. And this one is a little bit different because the more reaction video I do, the more suggestion I get on my timeline. So this is good. This one says British plugs and outlets are on another level. Yeah, we're reacting to plugs and outlets. But you know what? It's got a lot of views on it. And you know what? Why? I want to know what's going on here. Why are these outlets good and why they're not good, and why are we talking about outlets? All right, let's get this to 100 likes. We can. Appreciate you guys, man. Let's do it.
British AC plugs and sockets are very different from a lot of the other plugs and socket sets around the world, and they're super different than what we're used to here in North America. In fact, holding these two next to each other, these British ones seem...
It's crazy that the Type A has no ground, basically.
Absolutely mammoth. But I'm going to cover 10 reasons why I think this plug and this socket may just be the best design set in the entire world, as well as a handful of reasons why I think they might not be.
This man said world.
On our list is this longer ground pin. Now, long ground pins are actually super common. We see them in our US plugs and in other plugs all over the world, but this is quite different actually. It serves a purpose in an overall safety system on these types of plugs. By the way, these are called Type G, and the Type G here has this longer pin because as you insert it, and by the way, across the pond there, they call this an earth pin. So as you insert the earth pin...
Wait, earth means ground, right? That's safety. I'm assuming that's why they call it earth, right? Because it's ground. One thing I've noticed, you see that the other two, it's got the black on there. I'm not sure what that's for.
You'll notice that the first thing that touches is that earth pin because it's longer. So the neutral and the live haven't made contact yet, but there's actually what's called a shutter system inside here that it's opening up by pushing that one in first. So just now, as I got it that far, it opened up the shutters, and then I can proceed to plug it.
Not only is it a ground, but it's basically the key to open the shutter. So are the outlets
just now, system
in the UK all like that? It's closed until you put in the ground or the earth that opens it up. It's actually pretty cool.
Here,
makes sense.
It's opening up by pushing that one in first. So just now, as I got it that far, it opened up the shutters, and then I can proceed to plug
that makes so much sense.
Until I do that, these are actually closed off. Obviously, never stick anything into an outlet. Now, this may be telling about me, I don't know, but literally one of the earliest memories I have in life is when I was super little, maybe 3 or 4, and I stuck something into an outlet, got completely shocked, and I remember looking at the outlet after this had happened and seeing these black scorch marks all over it. But kids in the UK most likely haven't.
Wow.
In case you weren't aware, you can get the shirt that I'm wearing as well as many other DIY.
How is that not a thing here?
And you can check those out in the links in the description below. Feature number 9 is that when we insert the earth pin and clear those shutters, the only thing that's exposed on the live and the neutral is actually this black section here. If you're wondering what that is, that's actually a bit of insulation, and it's 9 millimeters up these pins here. So that's because once you have some contact with the live and the neutral to your receptacle, it makes it so that you can't touch anything that's live at that point.
Bro, what? These are like the most simple things you can think of, especially if you're making these things, you're an electrician. Like, why don't we have these? Like, that makes so much sense. Oh my God.
Check it out. So if I get this part of the way in there and it's actually touching, now the only thing that's exposed is just the insulated area, which is not conductive. So I might be able to touch that and actually be safe, and that's the idea anyway. Obviously, you should never try that, but they make it really difficult to get yourself shocked because everything is covered and protected as part of this overall safety.
It's dummy proof.
Feature number 8 has everything to do with how the cord comes out of the plug itself. As I plug this into the wall outlet here, you'll notice that it's always coming down on the bottom like this. And that makes it so that you can't really pull this thing out. If you pull this way with it, it's just going to stay in place. And even if you pull out this way, you can pull this pretty good. And it's really not going anywhere. It's a really smart feature. Now, this has come loose a little bit, but a lot less than it would if the cord were coming out of the face of the plug. Speaking of plugs being...
That is crazy, man, because I got a plug right now, like the outlet that I have my monitor plugged in, it's loose. You know what I have to do? I have to open the two, pins, open it up so it fits in and not fall, but it still falls because of the how the cable is. The weight of it like pushes it down. Yeah, I don't know why we don't have these things. Like this makes sense to me already.
Ripped out of the wall, that brings us to feature number 7. If we open this up and take a look inside here, you'll actually see that there's some pretty cool safety features built right inside. The first thing you might notice is there is built-in spring relief right here, and the cool thing is you can actually remove these little fins in many cases to replace this cord if you need to or to work on it. The next thing is the short cable in here, this brown one, that's your live cable. And this live wire right here is the shortest one and the straightest one, so that as you pull this cord out, if it gets ripped out specifically, that one is going to be the first one to disconnect, cutting the electricity to the rest of this.
Wow. That makes sense, man.
The second one is this blue or the neutral one here that's underneath, and that will get pulled out next, and at that point you have no electricity connected, just your ground. I think it's pretty brilliant that there's extra slack built into the ground. There's very little, but a little bit of slack built into the neutral and no slack built into the live, so that if this gets ripped out, it pulls the electricity first, again, keeping the user safe. While we're looking at the open plug, that brings us to feature 6, which is the fact that these Type G...
Listen, man, I was a government contractor, man, so I've built a lot of different plugs, man, from Telephonics, Raytheon, NASA, and a lot of it, man. And none of these features existed. But I will say the color, obviously, in the UK and America is different. Usually outground is black or green. And different color is different voltages. But yeah, like this is so simple and yet so safe. This is crazy, man. I've built units that cost over $500,000 for a couple of companies, and they don't have these features, these like safety precautions. It's just your simple plug, and that's it, man. I'm telling you.
Plugs can actually be opened up just about any time you need to by removing one or more screws. Now, Type G, just so you know, is not just used in the UK. They're actually all over the place and pretty much anywhere the UK has had some major influence. So for example, they're used in Ireland, the United Arab Emirates, Singapore, Hong Kong, Beijing, Indonesia, parts of India, and even several other countries. So those are very different from the Type A and Type B that we use here in North America. The Type A is the 2-prong here, and the Type B is the 3-prong, which includes the ground pin. And these guys don't have any way to service anything in here. All of this is completely sealed off, it's completely solid, and there's no way to do anything to fix this if this starts to become broken or frayed.
You have to buy a new cable.
Are to toss it, which is what most people do, and get a new one, or you can cut it off and use a replacement plug. I've got a video showing how to do that, but it's nice that with the Type G plugs here, it's just a built-in feature to be able to fix these or adjust these if need be. All of the names you see on the screen here are the people who have most recently joined our channel membership and are supporting the channel. So
shout out to them,
each and every one. You most likely noticed the fuse inside the plug itself here.
That's what I kept looking at.
From time to time in North American plugs, but is definitely not a standard. Having a fuse in every plug is actually essential to the system they use, which is called a ring circuit. A ring circuit has the ground, neutral, and live wires going out from the source location and then feeding every single socket and then looping all the way back to the source. This is different than the radial circuits that we use here in North America. We start at the circuit breaker panel, and then a line goes out called a home run, connects to as many outlets as we need or receptacles, and then it ends at a light fixture or an outlet. In the UK, the ring circuit actually acts like 2 separate radial circuits going at the same time, one in each direction. As a result, having a fuse on every appliance means that if there's a short or an overload in an appliance, the fuse in the plug can blow rather than tripping the whole circuit and everything else on it. These fuses are typically pretty easy to replace, and they cost next to nothing as well. For a plug like this, you do have to take it apart to access that plug, but it's usually just one screw like we saw. But a lot of plugs actually come with a little access panel that you can get without removing any screws to make it even easier. Number 4 on our list is the robustness of these pins, which are so good at carrying a large load. Now these pins are pretty massive. You may have noticed that. They're actually all 4 millimeters thick on these Type Gs. This is 8 millimeters thick, and then these neutral and lives are about 6.35 millimeters. When I hold this side by side next to our Type B, you can see the difference. The result of this is that the Type G has at least 50% more metal than a Type B, and it actually has 3.5 times more metal than the Type A.
See, so that would solve the issue that I just said, that mine is a little bit loose, and I have to like see the Type A, I have to spread it apart so that it makes a good connection, which is not safe, obviously, right? But yeah, because if it has that thick metal, it's a snug, like it just fits good, right? It's not gonna budge. Versus these ones, man, oh man, after a while they're just loose. They just come out halfway, and you know that's dangerous, man.
It doesn't have the ground. Feature number 3 is the fact that every Type G plug has a ground or an earth pin. This is really important for a handful of reasons. As far as safety is concerned, always having a ground means that you're not going to experience the arcing, or at least you shouldn't in most circumstances experience any arcing. Arcing is bad news because that basically means that electricity has gone off the rails and it's going to find the path of least resistance, and a lot of times that's through you. That could shock you, or with enough voltage that could stop your heart and kill you. So very dangerous if you don't have that ground in place at all times. You will notice on some plugs in the UK, for example, that these are just plastic. Typically, if you see a plastic pin on here, that means the appliance is double grounded. You can tell by a marking or an icon on the appliance that is a square within a square. It also serves the purpose of not only opening the shutters, but also always keeps things aligned. You cannot mix up the live and the neutral if your ground is always at that top place. Number 2 is the fact that every outlet or receptacle has its own switch. So check this out. I've got this little switch right here that I can use to control this lamp. Of course, you can control the lamp on the device itself, but this comes in handy for multiple purposes. Number 1.
There's no way. Is that really a thing in the UK? Each outlet has its own like shut off thing? There's no way. Or am I understanding this wrong? There's no way.
1, it gives you an extra place to turn something on or off, and along with that, it cuts the power completely to the device. There's a lot of devices and appliances out there that are using a trickle amount of energy at all times.
Yeah. Look at my Xbox right here. I got the Series X just like he has on the screen. Like, I have it on power save, but it's on constantly. So if there's an update, it does the update. And then when I go play, I just get right into the game. So, yeah. It's just sucking up energy, bro.
So by
the way, this month my electricity bill is $266. And it's not even a business. $266 is my electricity bill this month of January. Go figure.
Switching it off at the receptacle here, you're taking care of that issue. Number 1 on our list, and honestly these were pretty tricky to put in any particular order, so take that for what it's worth, but is the fact that all of these outlets and plugs run off of 230 volts.
That's crazy.
Here in the US, we use a 110 or 120 volt system. There's different names for it, but it's the same idea. And in the UK, for example, and in most of the world actually, it's a 230, which is anywhere from 220 to 240 volts typically. Running on
I had to call so I have a printing company, and my printer needed 2 of those 220, man, and I had to call the electrician. Bro, my printer was expensive. To call the electrician to come and do that, man, oh Jesus Christ, it's like I could have got 2 printers.
230 volts has a lot of impact on how you can use the outlets and receptacles around your house. So for example, if you want to plug a lamp into this, no problem obviously, but you can even plug a much larger appliance over here. Let's say a washing machine,
crazy,
for example,
man.
Something a little more power hungry. Space heaters have been a big issue for tripping circuit breakers here in the US. On 230 volt, they can handle that a lot better. You can even plug in things like a hairdryer and an iron at the same time in many cases, especially if the gauging of the wire in the walls is appropriate for that kind of use.
Listen, man, I turn on the AC, especially when my girlfriend's getting ready to go out. You know how that goes. AC, blow dryer. My son is upstairs playing video games. I'm down here watching sports. And then all of a sudden, as soon as she turns on that blow dryer, the light starts to flicker. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's like you can't vacuum, blow dry your hair, and have the AC on all at the same time. And then it just looks like the house is haunted because the light starts flickering, man. That's crazy. This is the way.
You can see with these 10 features how impressive this setup is, but that is not
cool,
to say
man.
that it doesn't have its flaws. For starters, look at the size of these things. I mean, this is a standard
I don't
Type
care.
A. This is what we use for most things in the United States and in
I'll
North
take the
America.
safety over that,
Seriously
though.
say this is probably at least 5 times as big. You can see it from the front. You can see it from the side.
Don't care.
It's just massive. Another consideration with this is that
First of all, in America, everything when it comes to food, we want big, supersize, supersize. Cars, we want big, trucks, trucks, trucks. We're gonna complain about a little cable, huh? Everything in America is big, but nah, we don't want no cable because it's too big and safety reasons.
the ring circuits that are used in the UK and elsewhere have a problem with what's called load balancing. Now, many times it's not really a big issue, but what it means is that you don't want to have a lot of your power being consumed on one portion of the ring. You want to distribute that throughout the ring as much as possible, because if you don't, you're actually forcing a lot of electricity, a lot of load to happen in a short distance of these wires. And these wires typically tend to be a thinner gauge, which is part of the beauty of the system. It takes up less copper, but the load balancing can be an issue in many cases. On that note, installing or maintaining or even testing a ring circuit is a lot more difficult than a radial circuit. So that's something to be considered with the overall system in general. The switches that we showed earlier on the socket here are a good thing in some cases, but they're a bad thing in other cases. So for example, let's say this light is not turning on. You flip the switch. So let's turn this off, on the socket here. We flip the switch, everything seems to be dead. You're not sure what's going on. And at that point, you're not sure if you need to start troubleshooting the lamp itself, or if it's the light bulb, or if it's the socket. Lastly, due to the design of the plug,
that's literally 2 steps, though.
If you were to just let this thing fall somewhere or unplug it, guess how it's going to land?
On its back.
Every single time. Now, if you thought waking up in the middle of the night, walking through the house, and stepping on a Lego was painful,
yeah, but like I get it. You're trying to show me all the negative things about it, stepping on it. Like, yeah, bro, no. I would still take this feature plus the safety that comes along with it versus what we use today. Okay, so now I actually see how this got a lot of view and why people actually are watching it, right? Because that was actually pretty good. It was a very good video. Like the information he gave, and yeah, man, that was pretty cool. I will give him a follow because I like his style and well spoken. I like all that stuff. So good information. But yeah, the 230 volt, man. I spent so much money just to get a printer going, man. And guess what? I'm gonna actually end up moving to another shop. Now I gotta get another electrician to actually go take that one out and go put in the new one. More money. Yay. But anyways, man, if there's more unique videos like this about different countries, please put in the comment section below. We will watch it and we'll learn, because this was a learning experience and I like that, man. And yeah, as always, keep your head up. Love you guys, man. Till next time. Peace.